What is the work that you're putting in now that you hope to pay off during the season? I mean, take me through a typical day of what you have to do.
Yeah, this was a different year for me. I thought I was going to retire.
Yeah, so I want to get into that. Like, what's that about? How would you're going into your 10th season? How could you possibly walk away from a dream job?
Yeah, I just played my best season as well. Like last year was my best season in the NFL. It wears on you. Playing offensive line isn't a fun position to play. Like, I don't score touchdowns. I'm not on your fantasy football team. The only time they show me on TV is if I have a holding or a penalty. I got to go backwards. Aaron Donald, the best player on planet Earth, maybe of all time, is going full speed at you. Yeah, it's not fun. Like, that's not, you have injuries all the time. And people say you're injury prone. It's like, I'm basically standing in the way and let someone run into me full speed. It's not like the most ideal position. What I love about it is the camaraderie. It's 5 guys working together. There's not another position on the football field. Maybe, yeah, the defensive backs are very similar, where they're going backwards. You have the best athletes in the world running at you full speed. It's just not fair. The DBs are always getting called for pass interference. It's us. We actually are very, very similar. And I've played enough. I'm not doing it for a paycheck at this point. I'm doing it to win a Super Bowl. So I went through the thought process of retiring. I actually started interning at a commercial developer out here in Phoenix, like looking at doing some real estate. And then talking to our general manager, Steve Kime, decided that, someone's got to block Aaron Donald. So they brought me back for another year. And here we are. So I lost a bunch of weight. I got married this offseason. I was down to like 265 pounds, and I put on about 15, 20 pounds since then. I'm in the 280s now. So it was a big process. I completely changed my lifestyle to get down, and now putting it back on has been a struggle, to say the least, but we're there. My weight's where it needs to be, and I'm ready to go for training camp next week.
So tell me, what is the process of, all right, you lose that weight and then gaining it back? What are you eating? Like, what do you have to eat right now? Are you waking up every 2 hours to eat to get that weight back? What in the world are you eating?
Yeah. So I'm eating, consuming about 5,500 to, calories a day. Wow. A lot of it is these shakes. So I do a lot of shakes, and I've always been a shake guy. So I always have a shake that has healthy fats, vegetables, got the protein I need in there. So I do a shake, eat breakfast, another shake, lunch. There's a snack in between dinner. So it's just making sure you're getting the right calories. And that's been the biggest thing. I don't want to be a fat, out of shape guy. And I've completely altered my body composition since my New York days. And that's been the biggest thing. Last year I played about 280, played my best football. So I don't think I need to be heavier than that. I think being 280, being able to handle my own body weight, like I've never been able to do pull-ups and all those different things. I now can bench more than I weigh. It's like, I feel great every day I wake up, and that's why I'm playing the 10th year. If my body wasn't feeling good, I would have called it.
Yeah. And so what you're listed at 6'5", 311. So you're not even close to 311.
No, not at all. And I wasn't last year, and I wasn't the year before that. Okay. 311 was probably the combine weight they had on me 10 years ago. Have me run a 40-yard dash. It's not going to look the same as it did in 2012.
I always thought that's like the combine thing for linemen running that is ridiculous. Having said that, with the way the quarterbacks play nowadays, where you do have to, I've seen Jason Kelsey do it, where you're just sprinting downfield to make a ridiculous block 40 yards down, or, God forbid, there's a fumble or something happens. You do have to be downfield. But it seems silly.
But I don't think the 40-yard dash is really going to play an intricate role in all that. He's going to get out downfield maybe 4 or 5 times a game, but the other 70 plays, you're going to need to have a little more, sturdiness to you. So more like your strength numbers, your 10-yard split. Some of those things definitely do have some significance.
So who talks you out of retiring? Was it you? Did you talk to your parents? You talked to your wife, the team? Like, what was the turning point where you went, all right, I'm coming back?
Yeah, I have my inner circle. Obviously, my wife's instrumental in that. We got married in April. There's obviously the financial component that comes into play. At the end of the day, we all know that plays a massive role in why guys come back or play another year. The way last season went, not going out on our terms and losing a tough playoff game. I mean, we weren't even competitive in the game, and that was something tough pill to swallow. And then talking to my teammates, my family. Obviously, it's been a big part of my life since I was, playing at Council Rock High School in Bucks County, my family coming to all the games, supporting me all the way through college, through getting drafted. So it was definitely all those factors weighing in, and it was tough to walk away. I went and did real estate for a little bit, and I know I'm going to do that once I'm done, but that can wait another year.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I guess, whatever you're making, a few million or whatever it is better than a free internship, right? Or
Exactly. And that's what, obviously I want to learn the real estate game and basically be taught. I always say, teach me how to fish and I'll go out and catch them. And that's kind of what I'm doing in the real estate world. But I think getting another year of learning from the guys I'm working for now while playing football. Our world is in a weird place right now too, with obviously we're on like the 15th wave of COVID at this point. We have a war going on. It's affecting everything. There's political turmoil. Everything just weighs into that. Obviously we have interest rates going up, and people are scared for their jobs. It's a weird time. So to lock in another year of contract and knowing I'm going to be kind of protected for another year, it definitely feels good. And I'm making sure, I'm being smart with my money and investing the right way and trying to impart that wisdom on guys. So there's a lot that goes into it. I want to give back to the game as much as it's given to me.
Yeah. Where are you interning at?
It's called IDM Companies, and they do like commercial development. They build multifamily homes. They have, a lot in the Phoenix and Pacific Northwest area. They do some industrial building as well. So I'm really just getting to shadow those guys. The CEO of the company, his name's Jeff Gordon, not the race car driver, but he's kind of taking me under his wing and letting me shadow him. And you can't go back, even if you go to a business school, even if you go to Harvard Business School, you're not getting that same exposure. And he's opened up his doors and let me follow him around, and it's been really awesome. And he's been a great mentor. Everyone at his company has been awesome to me. So what I'll do is I'll lift in the mornings, I'll go over there in the afternoons and learn from them. And that's something that has been great. It's kind of like, this won't go over well in Philadelphia, and obviously I'm not a Cowboys fan either, but Roger Staubach used to play in the play the season, and then he would go and do real estate in the off seasons. I'm trying to kind of follow that mold now.
Right.
Don't get mad at me, Eagles fans. I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Yeah. And so when you were growing up, I mean, the dream, I imagine, was to play in the NFL and not do real estate. Obviously, there's life after football, but I imagine growing up in Bucks County, your dream is to play in the NFL, right? I mean, that was
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a 2-star recruit. I thought I was going to go to Syracuse for free. I mean, Temple University didn't even offer me a scholarship. My two offers were Villanova, which, they won a national championship my freshman year of football, and Syracuse. And obviously Villanova, their football program is great, but they're not playing the same level of competition as Syracuse was at the time. So it was a good decision for me to go to Syracuse, got to play right away. I didn't know if I was any good. I played in a triple option offense. I really didn't even pass protect in high school. So I didn't know I was any good at football until probably my sophomore, junior year, and agents start calling me and say, hey, you might have a chance to play. I just thought I was going to get a free degree in finance. I was going to go work on Wall Street, be a financial advisor. So I did have that mentality of football isn't forever. And then I had the opportunity to get drafted into the NFL, was able to go to New York City, get exposure to that world and business. And it always had been in the back of my mind. So I always was preparing for life after football.
What's crazy to think that you didn't know if you're going to be able to make it, and then you're a first round pick, which blows my mind. I mean, I talk to so many guys, and I love these stories of the undrafted guys and guys that come into the league that are just fighting tooth and nail. But how do you go from a guy that I don't know if I'm going to make it to a first round pick that quickly?
Yeah, you don't know. When you're in the high school level, Council Rock, we're not known for putting out NFL talent. Like, we don't have a pipeline to play. We haven't been around Council Rock South where I went. We've only been around for, I think, 10 or 15 years at that time, but we haven't had anyone go Division I. So there was no model or someone for me to look at and be like, oh, I'm just going to follow in this guy's footsteps. I didn't know a kid from Bucks County, Pennsylvania could play in the NFL. I didn't even think I was good enough to play at the college level. So when I got to Syracuse, I got to go against Chandler Jones every single day in practice. And he didn't know if he was any good, and neither did I. He gets drafted in the first round. And I'm like, wait, if I can block Chandler Jones and he's getting drafted in the first round by the New England Patriots, who just won the Super Bowl, maybe I can do this. And my confidence started to build from there. And played well my senior year, and it just transpired from there. I never thought I'd be a first round pick. I never, I thought maybe second, third round, maybe I could sneak in there. To go 19th overall was a dream come true, and it was something that was, I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's incredible, and so such an incredible rise. And then you get drafted by the Giants, and so growing up, you grew up an Eagles fan, right?
Die hard. I mean, all my friends. My best friend has an Eagle tattoo right on his chest. My family is huge Eagles fans. So I was trying to push the Eagles to draft me. Obviously, they took my guy Lane Johnson instead. But that's something that kind of people in Philadelphia are like, why are you a traitor? You went to the Giants. And I'm like, guys,
you're like, I
had no choice.
Right.
I had no choice in the matter.
Right.
Like, should I pass up? Should I forego getting drafted and then sign a deal with the Eagles? So I felt like as soon as I got drafted to the Giants, I got a little slack every time I would come home. They'd be like, hey, we're cheering for you, but we hope you lose, get crushed when you play the Eagles. So my comeback now is like, well, where do you work at? And then they'll be like, oh, I work at insert company. I'm like, all right, well, I hope your rival just has a better year than you this year and they make a little more money than you guys. But it's been fun. I go back to CI almost every season, every summer. I have a house there. I love being in Philadelphia. I was misquoted when I played for the Giants. And I caught a lot of slack for saying I hate Philly. But the ESPN reporter, who knows who he is, knows I was referring to Philly as the Eagles because the Eagles had kicked our ass every year I was in New York.
Right.
So I hate Philly. I hate the Eagles. And, of course, he quotes Justin Pugh hates the city of Philadelphia. So that was really nice to come home to that type of welcome.
Yeah, I remember watching an interview where you go, I don't like Philly. I get treated poorly when I go back and stuff like that. And I think somebody asked you to explain it. And so would it get white hot? I mean, so you grew up an Eagles fan. You obviously, you're not going to go into the Giants who are giving this amazing dream opportunity and be like, yeah, I still like the Eagles. I mean, it is a weird thing at first, but hey, they're signing my check. They're giving me this opportunity. The Eagles didn't. I mean, when you think about it, just as a human being, you're like, all right, I get it. And so, but how do you kind of turn that page and go like, all right. And I think you told Tom Coughlin you were going to burn your Eagles stuff or what as a kid? Like,
yeah, I was getting rid of all of it. I mean, if they're cutting you a check for $8 million, I'm burning all my Eagles stuff. I'm not an Eagles fan right now. Like that. It's crazy to me when I talk to people and they're like, wait, you're not an Eagles fan and you're from Philadelphia. I was like, what's the matter with you? Like the fan rationale makes no sense to me in that aspect. It's like the Giants drafted me. They believed in me. The Eagles could have drafted me. They chose not to, obviously. Right. Probably made a good decision. Lane Johnson's a pretty damn good player and a good friend of mine. But I'm like, it's a business. And that's where the player-fan interaction becomes tough. And when you're playing for the New York Giants and you're going out in Seattle City, New Jersey, you're getting – people want like – every time I would go out, there was someone trying to like, get in my face or say something. I'm like, I just need to stay. I stopped going out as much, but I still love Philadelphia. I was back there this past week. It's a lot easier now that I play for the Cardinals,
right?
And the arch rivals that everyone hates. So that makes it a whole lot easier. And I love Philadelphia. I was back having Angelo's. I love going out in Center City. I got friends that are all down there. So I got a lot of love for the city of Philadelphia. The Eagles, I still could care less for, but the city of Philadelphia and everyone that I grew up with and all my teachers, friends, family that are still there. I'm more Philly than anything. I was there for 18 years. So when I'm out there playing on Sundays, I represent all those people, whether or not I'm wearing an Eagles jersey or not, because I'm more Philly than any of the guys that are playing for the team. I grew up and was born and bred where those people were. Right. And that's why every year I go back, I do my camper kids there, and I tell them, I said, hey, like I didn't have someone to show me how this transition works. I was sitting in your seats. I went to Council Rock. I got a scholarship, got drafted. So if anything, I always will say, I'm a representation of Philadelphia everywhere I go because it's in my blood.
Yeah. Joe Judge, the former Giants coach, I remember having a similar issue where he's inviting his family and friends and all this stuff to the Eagles game at the Link is a couple years ago. And he was like, I have one rule: do not wear Eagles green. You have to wear, blue. And so, it's a tough thing because it's life and death in a lot of ways, in this city. And so you grow up around it and all of a sudden you're a traitor. And you're just like, I just want to go work and make a living. It's not like, it's not like I stomped on the Eagles logo at the 50 and I just, look, I just had an opportunity. And so, but was it weird? Like, what was the weirdest moment when you're on the Giants and, you're just living your life? Is it a fan at a restaurant yelling at your mom, an Eagles chant? Like, what is the weirdest, surreal
I think
moment?
my family had to deal with it more than me, and they had to answer a whole lot more questions because I'm up in New York City most of the time. I'd come back and be in Seattle. They would start doing Eagles chants at the bar, which I get. I mean, I would laugh around, or a guy would be like, tell me I'm not any good. And we'd end up going and doing a one-on-one outside of the OD in Seattle just to be like, all right, man, like come on now. I'm an NFL offensive lineman. But it's, that when it affects your family, that's the toughest part to see. Cause I don't want my mom feeling uncomfortable going out. She was a school teacher for 35 years in the Council Rock School District. She's, everywhere she goes in that city, everyone would ask her like, well, is your son, why isn't he playing for the Eagles? Because people just don't get the business side. And that's probably the hardest part for me. I mean, my family, they'll still, a lot of my family will still cheer for the Eagles, and I can't blame them. They grew up 30, 40, 50 years of cheering for that team. And I get it. And that's why I say to them, I'm like, look, I'm not an Eagles fan. I never will be. I got drafted by the Giants. They gave me my opportunity. If you were in my shoes, you would feel the exact same way. The same way I feel about the Cardinals right now. Like, I will always have loyalty to the Cardinals because they paid me. They changed my life. They've given me and my family every opportunity. And I think people deep down get it. When it gets to like the fandom part of it, people just get caught up in it. So I've gotten a whole lot better as I've matured of letting those things slide. But I just have my good comeback now where it's like, all right, if you guys, if you ever play the Eagles, I hope you lose. And then I'll say, well, if you work at Sheets, I hope Wawa has a better year than you every year and they sell more product. And it's just, we'll have a good laugh about it because what are you going to do? I mean, people aren't going to change their opinions, especially they don't want to hear it from me.
Right. I think when you break it down, like Jerry Seinfeld had a great bit about the ridiculousness of cheering for teams. You're really rooting for laundry because guys switch teams, move around all the time. And you're not really cheering. These guys don't care. They just want to go, they want to get paid. They want to go where the opportunity is. And you're really just cheering for laundry. And I always love that. I mean, it does just dumb it down to really what it is because it's silliness.
There's a few guys in every generation, every era that are like on that team through and through. You look at Arizona, it's Larry Fitzgerald. Or when I was growing up, the Eagles did have a great core they kept around forever. But you have to remember, they let a lot of guys walk, and they walked out the door and went and played for other teams. And that's just the nature of the business. At the end of the day, we're really like mercenaries. We're just guns for hire. And every team, some guys get drafted. Look at like an Eli Manning or Donovan McNabb. They're with that team the entire career. But at the end of the day, Donovan went and played elsewhere because the Eagles had to make a business decision. So as loyal as you are to the team, there's both sides of this fence. And that's where people don't want to hear the NFL players making millions of dollars complaining. The teams make billions of dollars. They just hide behind the shield of the team, and they get to make all the business decisions. It's a dynamic. People want to cheer for their team. They want to have something to come together for. And if it wasn't for this dynamic, this game wouldn't be so great. So we have to have this battle between fans and those things because that's what makes the money, and that's what everyone wants to do at the end of the day, anyways.
Yeah, and you talk about the business and the money side of it, and so your quarterback's going through this contract situation, and not specifically with him, but in general, whether it was you or a teammate, when a guy's going through a public, contract situation, does it filter into the locker room, or is it just like, we're just playing football and we're at work? We don't, obviously you want to see him get taken care of, but does it affect the locker room? Does it affect things on the field or not at all?
It definitely affects the locker room. I mean, you can't avoid it because we're all answering questions about it. We have to talk about it every time we, are interviewed or whatever it is. So obviously we hope it gets done. And we got a few days left now before training camp starts. So hopefully I see some breaking news any second now that his contract's done and we don't have to worry about it. But when you have a guy on your team that's an MVP contender every year, that's doing all the things that Kyler's doing, it's obviously a very important situation. we need him to win games. I mean, I was here when Kyler wasn't here, my first year here, and we were the worst team in the NFL. Like I think statistically the worst offense of all time in the NFL. Kyler got here and the Cardinals were relevant again. People are talking about us. We get primetime games. So obviously that's worth something. And that's why Kyler's trying to cash in right now, because as we've seen, I mean, look at every quarterback. You look at, we'll take Carson Wentz, for example. He cashed in after playing well. Obviously, it didn't work out for him down the stretch. He had some injuries and Foles comes in, but like you have a finite period. Imagine if he didn't sign a deal and then went and had that happen.
Right.
You're losing out on millions and millions of dollars. So I will never fault a guy for going out there and getting his money when he has the ability to cash in, because at the end of the day, everybody, we all know the team is going to do what's in the best interest of them. If they can save $1, they're going to. And we see it on the back end of careers. I'm taking pay cuts every year right now to stay in the NFL. So if I'm taking a pay cut, that money's got to go somewhere. It's going to Kyler.
Right. Yeah. So you maybe Kyler can, throw you a car or something, right?
He got me a custom set of golf clubs, all the offensive linemen for Christmas last year. He got us all a custom true spec fitting of golf clubs.
Did you tell them that you paid for them, or you're paying for them, or?
I guess if you look at it that way, once he does get his new deal, yeah, it'll be like I paid for him anyways. But no, that was the best quarterback gift I've ever gotten. Fitting and a set of golf clubs. I mean, that's the real deal.
Yeah. How different is it blocking for Kyler Murray, a guy that can move like anybody's business, versus Eli, more of a pocket quarterback? Is it different at all? And if so, how's it different?
Yeah, it's night and day. You have no idea where Kyler's going to be. There isn't like. A lot of times we're playing backyard football and he's getting it down to D-hop and they're making some crazy play happen. Eli, the ball was coming out on time every time. And with the Giants, we didn't make flashy plays. We're getting our 5 yards here, our 3 yards here, and both have their pros and cons. We are, in Arizona, people are scared to play against our offense because Kyler can make any throw on the field at any time. In New York, I mean, I've had guys that I've play with now that were in Philly, and they were like, we love playing against Eli because we knew he was going to be sitting at that spot in the pocket. But Eli got the ball out most of the time and won Super Bowls that way. So it's like, which one works, which one doesn't? It's like, what day of the week is it? So I loved both playing with both guys and both philosophies. It's been different for me, like from a technical standpoint on, you don't know where he's going to be, so you got to stay on your block as long as possible. I knew Eli was getting that ball out, so I could set the defender a different way, and it was a learning curve for sure to do that.
Without DeAndre Hopkins to start the season, I imagine your offense is going to change at least a little bit with Kyler Murray and the guys up front. Things will be a little bit different, or no? Do you think you'll still just be the same old high flying Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to affect you when you lose arguably the best receiver in the NFL. They're not going to be rolling coverage, and we're going to have an extra guy in the box now. But we also have Kyler you have to deal with. That's the other thing. When we're in the run game, Kyler can pull it and take off. So you're playing 10-on-10 football because they have to have somebody on Kyler at all times. And when you have D-Hop, now you got to double him. You got to have someone for Kyler. So now you're really playing, the odds are in the offense's favor at that point. And that's something that has been very unique with us. We'll be able to run the ball pretty successfully because we have that added element.
What's the worst sack you've allowed?
It was against Philly. I mean,
okay.
We play Philly my second year of my career. I'm all jacked up. I'm in the link. It's Sunday Night Football. I'm walking out where Brian Dawkins used to walk out of. Like, I'm all my idols, Trey Thomas, John Runyon, Donovan McNabb, like the list goes on and on of, these guys I idolized growing up. And I get to walk out in that tunnel and go in front of all these people, except they want to rip my head off and they want me to have the worst game ever. It's the same game Victor Cruz, he tore his patella tendon and we lost like 30-0. I let up a sack on the first drive to, I think it was Connor Barwin. It wasn't even like, honestly, that sack, it was almost like he rushed up the field. Sorry, my dog's walking in. Hey.
Oh, it's all good.
Guys, go out. So I let up a sack to Connor Barwin, which if you play offensive line, if you play long enough, you're going to let up sacks. I let up a sack and I'm like, all right, I gotta play lights out the rest of the game. Eli steps up into another sack. I'm like, all right, first half, I let up 2 sacks already. Come out in the next half, I let up another sack. Now we're down 21-0 at this point. The route is on. Sunday Night Football. We can't hear a thing. Eagles fans are going nuts. They've been drinking since it was a Sunday night game. They've been drinking since Friday in the parking lots. And we lose the game like 30 something nothing. I end up letting like 4.5 sacks up in the game. I've never I've gone a season not like last year. I think I let up 1 sack the entire year.
Right.
I got 4.5 in one game, prime time against my arch rivals. I'm sitting in the room after watching the game, and I'm like crying because I'm thinking like this is all my fault. Giants fans hate me. Eagles fans hate me. I can't it was a tough moment in my career. It was actually one of the moments that I credit with myself with bouncing back from and growing and maturing from. And so that was definitely a low point for me. I mean, I've had some games where you playing against Aaron Donald, he's gonna beat you and make you look stupid at times. And that's probably more of a fear of mine now is going against that guy. But I played against him enough. I've been playing against him since I was in college, so I know what to expect.
On a sack like that, or in all those sacks you allow, and Eli's getting crushed, do you apologize? Like, what is like the kind of the thing you do with a teammate? Do you apologize? Do you be like, "Yo, my bad"?
There's going to be a my bad, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to scream, "Throw it!" Like when I'm getting beat and I'm seeing him back there. Yeah, with a guy like Eli Manning, who's an NFL legend, I mean, he's NFL royalty. You get a guy like that hit, you're feeling pretty bad about yourself because you feel like you let the whole team down. I mean, I let up 4.5 sacks a game. I think the Eagles still may have 10 sacks. So it was across the board. I wasn't the only one. But at that time, as a 25-year-old, whatever I was, I'm thinking like the weight of the world's on my shoulders. I'm the reason we lost the game. And it's a team sport. There's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, there's guys have had rough games and guys have had ups and downs in their careers. And that's guys have ups and downs in life. I'm sure you've had adversity and people you've worked with have had, things happen to them that are tough to deal with. So you sit back and you're like, am I going to let this define me? Or are you going to go out there and change the perspective? And that was my goal from then on. And that's how I still play to this day. I play a lot more. I put a lot of pressure on myself at that point to be perfect. I now go out there and it's a bar fight to me now. I go out there and try to put my hands on whoever it is and make it physical, I'm like a gnat. I'm not the biggest guy like we've already discussed. I'm going to go out there and throw my hands and jump set guys and play aggressive. And if you beat me, so be it. Kyler's probably going to make you miss, but it's going to be a long day. I'm going to try to make it physical.
Yeah, you talk about facing adversity. So you don't have DeAndre Hopkins to start the season, but you guys trade for Marquise Hollywood Brown. He should be able to plug in there. You're going to have a full year with Zach Ertz. And so the offense, maybe it won't miss a beat in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of weapons. You have AJ Green, who had, a great year for us last year coming out of Cincinnati. I mean, obviously he was a Hall of Famer as well. You can throw it up to him at any time and he still has the best hands. You got Zach Ertz, who now will be a full year in the offense, who's just a target machine. You guys know that all too well. You got Hollywood Brown. We have Rondale Moore, was a high draft pick for us last year that really flashed. We lose Christian Kirk, who went to Jacksonville and became one of the highest paid receivers. So that's another difficult thing to deal with. And then we obviously lose DeAndre. It's not easy, but we have weapons. We have some guys that are young in the backfield that are going to, we have James Conner, and then we have some young guys who are hopefully going to flash and show their why we drafted them. And it's exciting. And we have Kyler Murray. There's a reason why he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. He's going to have to go out and help us win some games.
Well, thanks so much, Justin, for joining me. I'm glad you didn't retire. Glad you're coming back for another season, and best of luck chasing the Super Bowl.
Thanks a lot. And if I see anyone down in CI, let's